boyfriend, baby.
Say hello to your boyfriend, baby. Haha, what's up? It's your boy, Ricky Grimes. I'm here with Joe the Psychologist. You are watching the comic book horror show on Horror Fiend TV. In this brand new issue, we will be discussing the Wes Craven cult classic, Swamp Thing. Yeah. What up, Joe? How you doing, my brother?
I'm good. I'm good. I know it's been a bit since we've done one. You know, when we're doing shows and we have themes going on, we gotta shuffle the schedule, and that's the best part of it. But we're back.
Like I said, we will be discussing the 1982 film Swamp Thing, written and directed by Wes Craven. The film stars Ray Wise as Alec Holland and Adrienne Barbeau, my favorite, as Abby Cable. One thing that kind of blew my mind, well, two things upon revisiting this film. Ray Wise played Alec Holland, which I completely forgot about. He looked nothing like him because he was very young. But the funny thing is, the actor who plays Swamp Thing, his name, he's got the best Hollywood name ever. Dick Durock. Yo, bro, who is this guy, Joe? You know him?
I don't. I know that he reprised the role for the Swamp Thing Returns and also for the USA series.
Unsung hero. So, Joe the Psychologist, tell me, brother, what you thought about this movie, man? This is a Wes Craven comic book superhero film based on an actual DC intellectual property, bro.
So my young self, when I first saw this movie, I remembered really liking it a lot. And now my older self, when I was watching the movie, I was like, wow, Wes, like, this is 10 years after The Last House on the Left. So you got 10 years on directing. It was a little rough. I mean, you
It
saw
doesn't
it.
age well.
Did not age well. It definitely did not age well. For your being taken back type of movie, it is what it is. But you're sitting there and you're fucking Leatherface with a chainsaw going at this movie. Unfortunately, it didn't age well.
It felt like a film where the director was at constant odds with the producers. That's what this movie felt like to me.
Yeah, no, it didn't age well. I mean, I didn't hate it.
No.
Here's the thing, though. You then have to remind yourself, hey, don't go by with everything you see now and try to, compare. But yeah, there was a couple times.
There's still a lot in here that I really do like, though.
I did too.
Yeah,
I mean, it kept to the source material. Unfortunately, we'll discuss this for the next part, but just so here's my other part.
My other part? Where do we start, bro?
Well, okay, one of my many parts. I saw Krug in here, so I kept thinking Last House on the Left every time I saw him.
Krug? Oh, Xavier Hess.
Yeah,
Ferret.
And I'm like sitting here, I'm like, it's kind of hard when I know what, like, you're kind of almost a similar guy, except now militarized, but it took me a little out with him in here.
I loved him. He was my favorite character, bro.
Well, I mean, I know, but it was just because then that's where I was feeling like, all right, well, he's in here, so it should go a little bit gory and like a little slasher. No, nothing like that at all. But then, so that's why I was kind of confused. I'm watching it now for us to do this.
Yeah, same thing. As I watched it, I'm noticing, wow, like one thing that this movie is filled with, and it's something I hate. It's a trope I dislike tremendously. It's the egregious use of slow motion in this film. Whenever like Swamp Thing would hit a boat and the guys fly over it, they always slow it down. They splash in the water and stuff. But a little fun fact. One thing I will say about this movie. Did you know, and obviously you might know this, but Harry Manfredini, who did the music for Friday the 13th, scored this film?
Yes, man.
I peeped his name in the credits. I'm like, as I'm watching the movie, I kept listening to the music. Okay, It sounds
It's
like
his sound
him,
him.
and you
I
hear
did.
all the crickets and like the all the swamp noises and stuff, the hissing of the bugs, the reptiles.
So when you're seeing the credits and you're seeing Manfredini and Wes Craven, you're thinking you got horror, like pretty much royalty in here. So this is going to be good, and it was kind of not as good as I was hoping.
Friday the 13th was 1980 what? 81, is it?
1980.
80, 1980.
Yep.
And
This
this
was
was 2 years
82.
later, so he already had his Friday fame. So brother, let me tell you, man. Oh, where do I start? So yeah, the slow motion, obviously, the dialogue I remember it being hilarious. I already had mentioned that one scene with with Ferret, Krug. David has say hello to your boyfriend, baby, and then Swamp Thing hand just comes out of the water and grabs him and pulls it in. Or when Bruno was saying something like, I heard there's a lot of ghosts out in these swamps. And
Yeah.
Ferret's like, well, there's gonna be one more brand new one right now. Where's she at? Oh, man, Ferret tells the guys, Bruno especially is like, they're looking for Swamp Thing in context. Like, do you see him? And Bruno's like, I see him everywhere. Like, because he's a plant, so it's in the
Yeah.
swamp. So. I don't know, just the dialogue. I don't know if it's meant to be
It's
cheesy,
dated.
but
It's very
so
dated.
funny, bro.
It's just. I
But
mean,
the actor Bruno was great because he was from Darkman and he played a similar character, a henchman of sorts who gets screwed over just like he did in this film. But yeah, man. So yeah, it's yes, it has a lot of dated elements, and I would want to say this: the final villain, Arcane.
Yeah.
Talk about fun fur. If you're a makeup artist and they ask you to make a creature and you just throw just fur on them, that's called fun fur. You didn't
nothing to it.
You didn't put no dirt on it, no oil. You didn't color it. You didn't spray paint. You did nothing. Just that motherfucker was wearing a rug, bro. And the funny part is when he picked up, he had a sword too. Comic books. When he picked up the sword like this, you could see like this rip. All you saw was the actor's like underarm. He just
bad.
left it in there. Like that was so bad, bro.
It was.
Oh man, but again, for the time it was good, but it doesn't age well.
No.
But Swamp Thing himself, though, I really connected with the character. He's a sad hero. He's a very he's a character you feel for the guy. Let me ask you, was that his wife in the beginning?
No, his sister.
His sister. Thank you, because when I saw this movie again now, I was under the impression, because I'm going back. I haven't seen this movie in probably almost 10 years, probably. I thought they were a couple. So when, Cable comes in and they start making out, and he sees the other doctor in front of him, she's like, oh. And he looks at her, then they keep making out. I'm like, yeah, fuck this guy. What the hell's wrong with that? I liked Alec. What the hell's he doing? That was his
okay.
sister.
Okay. Yeah, so their father did the same thing that they did.
Yeah.
So basically both of them went to school to do the same, I guess, to their botanist.
Another thing about this flick, bro, it had such a Scooby-Doo moment when Arcane was that other, the other guy the entire time, and yeah, he took the mask
I forgot
off.
about that, dude.
Surprise!
I forgot about it. I totally forgot about that.
He was the puppet master the whole time, and I was like, holy shit, they went full Scooby-Doo on this right now. I dabbled into the Alan Moore books a little bit when I was younger, though. It was a long time ago. But I'm not a DC reader per se. I have a lot of DC books, but Swamp Thing wasn't one that I'm too knowledgeable with. I know he was in House of Secrets. That's where he debuted.
Yep.
But I know you are a big fan. I see the book right behind you, the New 52. As far as, tell me about Swamp Thing, his character in this movie, and how, and the comparisons about the differences or any changes made between the comic book and live action.
All right, so the way that he was created, the movie did stick to how it happened. The chemical that he used, catching on fire, going into the swamp.
Yeah.
And therefore, basically, because he created a new chemical that was a combination of animal and vegetable. Reading the comic book and knowing just how strong Swamp Thing actually is. Swamp Thing has taken on the Justice League and taken down the Justice League, including Superman being in there in a fight. So he is powerful enough. And then the way they were doing him in the movie with him just "Arr," and just like it was the Incredible Hulk.
He
Like
was.
that's all I hated it because that's all I saw. It was the Incredible Hulk. They didn't show the only time that you saw him regenerate was when he got into
The
the
light.
sunlight
Yeah.
after he lost his arm.
To be
After he
fair,
lost his arm, no, in the comics, after he lost, it would have grown right really quickly.
to be fair, he just became
Just
Swamp
learned
Thing,
it.
so he's not really.
I
He's
do
adjusting
get,
to his
I
new
get that.
body essentially. But yes, you're right. They did give up the Incredible Hulk treatment with the.
It is. I didn't, and that's the part because
He's very intelligent.
he's very intelligent. What would have added the horror element, and this is why I feel that there's been rumors that Guillermo has been wanting to do Justice League Dark, of which Swamp Thing is one of the founding members of Justice League Dark. So he would know how to give this character justice. But like when he's stalking them on the boat, he didn't even need to move from there. He could have just made the vegetation, grab the boat, grab them off the boat. So it was very like
I want to say maybe the budget limited his power.
it was, and I get that. Again, we're talking about 1982.
Yeah.
So I mean, 30 years ago. So they didn't have the special effects and technology. But I grew frustrated watching it because I'm like, dude, this guy literally the swamp. He can control all this shit, gross stuff. Like he doesn't even need to get involved into any of the fights.
How many times did he jump on a boat and just throw guys off of the boat?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, what the fuck?
And how about
I
how
mean,
they killed Ferret? He just grabbed him by the head, just squeezed him so hard, but they cut it.
it's just like I
Is this
I
PG-13?
will say it probably was.
Let me see.
It probably was.
Got it. I'll go check.
But I will say, again,
It's PG, brother.
it's PG. Oh, even worse.
It was before PG-13 was prevalent, so.
But I did before I started watching it. I did finally remember liking it, and then once I watched it, I was like, "Wow, it's been
I think
so long."
if a movie needs a reboot, a film, not a
Yes.
series, it's this one.
Well, and actually, it's on HBO Max, but there was a Swamp Thing series
Yeah.
that dropped on, and that was a very good series also.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking about when you said Dick Durock reprised his role. So that's
No. So the USA Network in back in the 80s did a 4
Oh.
season
there you go.
of the Swamp Thing, but you had the 1 season of the Swamp Thing that was on well, now it's Max.
That's what I was talking about. That's a super hyper violent one, right?
That one, yes, that one, and I can't remember
gotta
who
watch it.
directed it. But unfortunately, that fell into one of those things where contract negotiations with the state. I don't want to get all contract negotiations with the state prevented them from coming back.
Yeah.
So essentially, they canceled the show. You could have came to Florida. I mean, we have so many swamps down here, but anyway, yeah, like this, I was underwhelmed with the Swamp Thing because it was just basically the Hulk in a suit.
Whenever I watch this movie again, I'm never. All I'm gonna see is the
The Hulk. I know, and that's all I saw when I was watching it. That's all you're gonna see.
All we were waiting for the fucking bear to get flinged across the fucking swamp here.
What do you think of the Swamp Thing?
I like the character himself. A little small. Something's bigger, obviously, but again, its limitations. We're talking 1982, so the suit was fine for what it was. It still resembles Swamp Thing.
It did.
Face-wise, they got that right.
They got, like, when you look at the actual detailing
Yeah.
on the whole body part, they did do that part right.
Yeah, I think that when it came to the makeup on the actual Swamp Thing was very well made. His antagonist, not so much. I
Oh
mean,
god, that was terrible.
that was probably one of the worst suits I've ever seen on film. I don't know
that was
how
a
they
Power
saw that.
Ranger
And
suit.
I don't know how they saw that. Wes Craven, mind
Yes,
you.
I mean, dude,
Oh,
the guy,
that's camera ready. Bring him in.
the guy created Freddy Krueger, and this is the best he came up with to go up against
Again,
the Swamp
I
Thing.
gotta now. I'm curious. I want to watch like a documentary to see what Wes really thought of this film. It just didn't feel like a Wes Craven movie. I mean,
Think about it. When we think of Wes Craven movies, they even bring up even some of his old stuff. Did you remember that this was a Wes Craven movie? Because I
yeah,
didn't.
I knew that. I knew that.
Oh, see,
Oh.
I didn't remember that.
No, yeah.
Like, well, yeah, no, but like, it's been years, and
It's
I'm looking up.
fascinating.
I'm like, Wes Craven.
it's fascinating because Wes Craven always wanted to get away from horror, but like most horror directors, they don't get the roles they're looking for, so they fall back into horror. So this, even though I classify it as a horror film because I mean it got monsters in it and guys in monster suits, so people die, and it's got Adrienne Barbeau. Oh my god, let's talk about Adrienne Barbeau. One thing this movie excels in is the use of Adrienne Barbeau. They put her in that tank top, in that dress, and brother, I was so in love with her back in the day. I mean, she was a staple of John Carpenter films, and I'm a big Carpenter fan. And when she's in this film, and the fun thing about it, she's a good guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember when she played a good guy. She was always either a bitch or an antagonist of some
I
sort.
love my favorite role is her in Creepshow.
Oh my god, Billy. Billy.
Billy. I love Billy.
She was great in Creepshow.
She was so
actually, I
good.
take it back. She was a hero in The Fog. How did
Oh
I
yeah.
forget that?
You did that episode. Ooh.
Horror Fiend Driving Theater. Look for
Check
it.
it
It's in the
out.
channel.
Great
Check the
episode.
playlist. Cheap plug. On the channel, it is there now. Me and Joe just covered An American Werewolf in London on Horror Fiend Driving Theater. Practical transformation effects in that film.
Ooh.
This film, not so much. That was 81, right? American Werewolf.
Yeah.
This is a year later, so what happened, Joe? Chat me up.
I don't know. Listen, again, I am diehard DC, so I'm sorry but oh my god, the transformations were horrible. Like, what'd you say the name of the one guy was? The one that Bruno, when he finds out that Anton is basically selected him to be the first one to try this to see how it's gonna work. He's like, like like doing this choking sound. I was like, oh no, this is just
what did
like they showed a couple little things on him, and then he goes down to the table, and then all of a sudden like a little like elf thing pops up, and I'm like, oh no. Like
that's the sign of the production crew is like, we don't have the time or the budget to come
make
up
a
with this. So
transformation.
let's just cheat our way through this.
Yeah, you're gonna drop down, and then the transformation happens under the table.
I'd rather have that though than what they did with fucking.
Oh my god, Anton. First of all, I will say that it started a little bit scary at first, so I'll give credit on that.
Subtle. It was sort of when the girl came in and offered him a drink or something, and she saw his hands, and she bolts out of there.
Like I thought we had a little promise there, and then all of a sudden, like he's covered, but then he's ripping that off, and then
but before that, he starts leaking and stuff.
Yeah. It was terrible.
He's like, brother, what's wrong with you, man? Yo, are you okay? Why don't you take a nap? You want some beer? Yo, hold on. You want some beer? Yo, take some beer. That'll make it feel better. I just couldn't get over the fun for it, bro. and of course the mask has a baked in expression. You don't do that in film. Like,
well, so here's the other part. I don't know. I'm thinking when a transformation happens that you're in some kind of liquid, and the hair came out dry. I mean, it was dry and furry and sticking out. Like it should have been gooey and wet. Like if you're gonna do a transformation, like especially if your outside skin just cocooned up, there should be some fluid in there. That motherfucker, like he's like just breaking, like it's like little pieces.
Bro, like brother, I could go to Spirit Halloween and get something that looks better than that off the rack.
Yes. Yeah, the transformations were horrendous. That's the word I'm gonna do. And I get it. It's 1982, and I know that my brain has seen different. But we just, as you said, we talked about American Werewolf in London, that did an amazing transformation.
Probably on a smaller budget too.
Probably on a smaller budget. So again, it just, oh god, this. And as a DC fan, like it hurt my soul. It hurt my soul that this movie was like released and out of a character who is pretty much almost a god and just walks around and goes, "Roar!" Oh my god. I was like, oh, I hate that we're gonna review this movie and that I'm just going to say how fucking horrible this movie really was.
Yeah, yeah.
Reboot this shit.
But one thing I did appreciate, since it is a comic book film, technically, I love the comic book transitions that were used
Oh, that
throughout the
was
film.
It's funny because when I saw those
Almost creep show
transition,
like.
it made me think of our transitions here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, even Rick does those better.
Well, yeah, granted, we had a lot of time in between.
I know, but yeah, no, I did like because he did. So like I don't think that Wes ever picked up a single issue of Swamp Thing
I would think not.
to go for reference. I think that had he picked up an issue and looked at a couple of them,
Yeah.
and during that time, I want to say that was pre-crisis. So the Swamp Thing that was still around was one that if he would have looked at and gone, okay, so this is kind of all right. If he would have read the books, Swamp Thing wouldn't have been, ABC's Incredible Hulk.
Mm.
I think that he would have actually done something different. So, I mean, if I'm wrong, I haven't seen the documentary. So if the documentary said that he actually read it, then that's even worse, to be quite honest with you.
I'm looking it up right now. And the first thing that popped up, Adrienne Barbeau's topless scene was shot and intended for use solely in the European release and therefore not included in the American cut. We had a topless scene with
So it was
Adrienne
really
Barbeau,
PG.
and we did not get it.
No.
Here we go. Music composer Henry Manfredini had previously composed the score for Friday the 13th. No shit. And he did part 2 as well.
Yeah.
All right. So, let me see. I want to see here we go. Joe, here we go. Wes Craven was unaware of the Swamp Thing before being approached to direct because he had no access to comics while growing up. They were forbidden by the church I was raised in.
Well, there you go. I said it. The man did not because I'm telling you right now, I truly believe had he picked up the comics, then he would have known that Swamp Thing didn't need to be hiding around and coming out of the bushes.
To play devil's advocate, this is 1982. Comic book films aren't as treasured and under a microscope like they are now.
But he was doing in the beginning. It says it's based on the comic book.
Yes, I agree.
So, I know you want. Listen, it's Wes Craven. I love Wes Craven. I'm not about to read it. To shit on Wes Craven hurts the soul too, as I said.
But if we gotta do it, we gotta do it.
We gotta do it. This is like I really think one of those things. If he said, "Shit, I should have picked up that fucking comic book. I could have made a better movie." He would have, but he didn't. And this is what happens when you hire someone to do a comic book movie.
Yeah.
And again, Swamp Thing had always been part of the darker side of the DC, hence the Vertigo when it was released in the Vertigo. So if he would have really picked up a book and saw it, he could have done it some justice. But instead, he did a project without really knowing a lot about a character.
Yep.
And this is what we ended up getting.
Before we transition, Reggie Batts, who played Jude, was a local to that area, and he was hired because they did not have to abide by all the SAG rules for children, which are pretty stringent, meaning they're strict with that. And people ragged on his performance, but Wes Craven always defended him, and Adrienne Barbeau actually kept in contact with the kid after.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
That's good. That's really good to know.
So let's close it out, man. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to bring up right now? Give us your rating.
Like honestly, listen, if you want to check out cheesy, if you like the Incredible Hulk, you'll like the Swamp Thing. Like honestly, but if you're a person who likes to watch a director's entire catalog and you're a Wes Craven fan and you didn't check this out, you should check it out to see how he got. Yeah, worth it. Just so that you can appreciate how much better he got, especially after this. Another prime example of studios make sure that director that you hire to do a comic book movie maybe has read the comic book or can admit that when he grew up he collected the comic book.
Now it's a different beast, bro. Any director, actor, anyone associated with a film that's comic book related, they their main mission is to pick up a big stack of books and start going through them all.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, again, because like I have the New 52, the entire run of the Swamp Thing. I have the with him with Justice League Dark, and it's a great character, and it just hurt
yeah.
watching that this guy was just minimized to just growling and throwing people around.
We need a remake. We need to campaign.
Yes,
Campaign.
yes,
Let's get
yes.
this trending. We need Swamp Thing remade with for today's generation because this is a great character. And if you don't believe me, again, read Alan Moore's run. I was young. I need to go back, but he wrote it with such like an intellectual flair to it. It wasn't a guy just growling and there was a
No,
lot of heart into this. And one thing I did like about this movie, I mentioned it earlier, like I did like the way Swamp Thing was like characterized in a way. Like when he talked to Cable, for example, and she asked him, "Does it hurt?" and stuff like that. Just he
he
would
joked.
emote with his face, with his he would
Yeah,
nod and like it hurts, there's pain, and you could read it in his face, and I did like that. So
I did.
it's
I
not
did.
all
Again,
doom and gloom.
no, no, no. Listen, I'm only just shitting on the part of the as a comic book
Oh no,
collector of it.
I support your stand 1000%.
You
So
know,
you're
the
right.
movie has its points.
What's fascinating too, it's 82, but this is before like Schwarzenegger became this big 80s icon and other actors similar with
Yeah,
so all the slow motion wasn't really prevalent in 80s films like they would become later. So when you watch it, you were like, oh, this is pure 80s, man. But this is
it is.
really, I would say this was late 70s was when they started putting it together and it was released in 82.
It's a
So
time
they were a
capsule.
little bit ahead of the game when it came to a lot of tropes that 80s
Eh,
movies would later pick
yes.
up and further push along the pipeline. So what's your rating?
I mean, obviously, as we've been kind of harping on, it didn't age well. So I'm gonna rate this. It would go lower, but it's Wes Craven, and I could never anything low rating anything Wes Craven one is just not right. So I'm gonna go beta on this one. It actually, beta's not that bad of a score for it, to be honest with you. If you go by the times, it's a fun movie. It's definitely an 80s,
Bro, it's got a villain with a random sword.
a random so and not just that, but the fucking fur went all the way down right to his butt crack.
It's that
Like
fun
that
for,
killed
bro.
me.
It's
It
so
killed me that,
distracting.
like it went all the way down. It beat down to the butt crack. And I'm
It
like,
was clean
really?
as hell, not even wet like you said.
No.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna give it a beta as well. I think I still enjoy the movie. Like I said, I love the dialogue. I like the characters, and I felt sympathy for Alec.
I
Swamp
did.
Thing. I did like, and Adrienne Barbeau is a goddess. She could do no fucking wrong in my book. So
I was Ray
yeah,
Ray Weiss and Adrian
yeah,
carried the movie.
yeah.
I think if they did not
And Dick
have
Durock too. He plays Swamp
yeah, yeah,
Thing.
no. If they didn't have those people playing these roles, the movie would have been even worse.
Yeah, because those
So
villains
both
were
these
like,
characters, and you can tell that they put in their work in the roles, especially Ray. So
yeah, Adrian sarcastic and very witty, like only she can provide. So yeah, we're going beta. That's a dose out of 4, right? That's how we're doing.
yeah,
Yeah, so it doesn't age well, but if you wanna be a historian and you wanna watch it so you could have it in your mind catalog, definitely watch it. It's a trip down memory lane, bro. It's a pure late 70s film, early 80s, and it's a sign of the times, man. So that's all we can say about that. But thank you for watching this episode, or as we call it, issue of the comic book horror show, Horror Fiend TV. I'm Ricky Grimes, my boy Joe the psychologist. Joe, take us home, my brother.
until next time, we are out.